Hi everyone, it's William here again from Inspiration Education with yet another video. If you're a parent and your child wants to go to university, it's vitally important that you have an understanding of how university entrance works. Now, if you think NCEA is confusing, then university entrance is yet another level of confusing, because not only do you have to achieve a generic university entrance, but you also have to meet the entry criteria of that individual university. Let's start off by looking at just the generic university entrance criteria you need to meet. So every New Zealand student needs to meet this in order to go to university, no matter which university they choose. Basically, in order to get university entrance, you need to have 60 credits at NCEA level 3, i.e. you've passed it. You also need to have 14 credits each over 3 approved subjects. What makes an approved subject is what's on the NCEA website. They have a full list of subjects that are approved. It's very, very important that you check that the subjects that your kids are taking are university entrance approved, because if they're not, then those credits won't count towards the university entrance. So you need to have at least 14 credits each over at least 3 university approved subjects. So for example, if I was doing chemistry, biology and stats, then I need to get 14 credits at least in each of those in order to achieve university entrance on top of my NCEA level 3 qualification. You also need to get 10 literacy credits, and within literacy there are reading and writing standards. So you need 10 credits overall with literacy at level 2. You also need to have, out of those 10, you need to have at least 5 in reading standards and 5 in writing standards at least level 2. To find a full list of these standards that qualify for a reading standard and a writing standard, see the link below in this video to go to the NCEA website and see the full list. Another thing you can do is go and ask the school whether the standards that your kids have done actually fit in that box. And this is a common reason why a lot of students don't get university entrance, because they haven't got the right amount of literacy credits. You also need to have at least 10 level 1 numeracy credits, and again the list of those standards that qualify for that are found on the NCEA website, and it also pays to double check that with your school. Again, another reason why a lot of students can't get university entrance, they don't meet that literacy and numeracy criteria. Once you have university entrance though, you need to actually meet the individual university's criteria, and this is sort of governed by what's called a guaranteed entry score. Guaranteed entry scores are calculated in the exact same way across universities, but each university and even each course within the university needs a different score. So it's really important to understand how the score is calculated. So basically, in order to calculate your guaranteed entry score, you need to have it's your best 80 credits from level 3. So if you get 70, they'll only count 70, but if you have 100, they'll take your best 80 out of that 100. Which means that it's in your child's best interest to try and get as many credits as possible at level 3, so they can use the best ones for calculating their guaranteed entry score. Now, to do this, they basically look at your best 80 credits, and for each of those 80 credits that's at an achieved level, they assign 2 points. For each of those credits that are at a merit level, they assign 3 points, and each of those credits that are at excellence level, they assign 4 points each. So let's say Susie did a level 3 biology standard and got 4 credits at excellence, then she would get 4 credits times 4 points for being at excellence, so she'd have 16 points overall to contribute to her overall score. Now, the other catch is that you can only contribute a maximum of 24 credits from one subject. So just say Susie got 30 credits from biology level 3, which is not really possible, but just say she did, then basically only the maximum of 24 of those could be carried over towards her score. It's also really important to understand that different universities have different scores. So let's say overall you added up all the points and essentially you ended up with 160. That would get you in at Victoria University in a BA, or Bachelor of Arts. But if you wanted to do a Bachelor of Biomed at Auckland, then that wouldn't be enough. So it's really important to understand the actual score that the university and course that your child wants to do is requiring. The other point to make is that you track this information nice and early. There are lots of scenarios where parents actually haven't been on top of this sort of information, and the students have felt that they're fine, but then sort of at the last minute realise that they don't have enough credits to make the guaranteed entry score or to get university entrance. So it's really important that you're aware of this, and throughout the year you're sort of getting updates from the school and from your kids as to where they're at and how they're tracking towards that goal. To illustrate the importance of guaranteed entry scores, let's look at a couple of examples. So at Victoria University, if you're doing a degree, you need 150 points in order to get a guaranteed entry to that university. However, if you're doing architecture at Vic, it's actually 180 points. If we look on the other end of the scale, if you want to go to do Auckland to do first year biomed, which is what you need to get into first year medicine, you need a whopping 280 points, which means that most of your credits have to be at least a merit, if not excellence level. So it's really important to understand the different requirements, and then with your children sit down and make a plan about how they are going to get there and get that entry score. Now, if they just miss out, then they do go on a waiting list, which means they still can technically get in theoretically into university, into the course of their dreams if they don't quite meet the entry score. But obviously you're on a wait list, so you have to kind of bank on someone else dropping out in order to get back into that course, or to have the course have more room than they initially anticipated. So it's really important to try and get that guaranteed entry score, because that gives you the 100% chance of getting in, and if you don't get it, then your fate is up to luck. However, in the midst of university entrance and guaranteed entry scores and all this confusion, there's some really good news. Basically, this is the main pathway of getting to university, but it's not the only pathway, and it's worth exploring the different options about how someone can get to university. For example, if they're over 20, there's a completely different pathway that exists to get into university. So if your kid doesn't quite get university entrance, they can sort of take a bit of a break, go into the real world, or do a diploma, and then come back and enter a different way. If your child is year 12, and you feel like their last year of high school isn't quite right for them and they'd be better off going to university straight away, there's a special system called discretionary entrance, which is only a requirement basically the literacy credits, the numeracy credits, and 14 credits at one NCEA level 2 subject in order to get there. However, you do need a reference from the school principal, and there are a couple of other requirements as well, and you have to apply directly to that university to get it. But it's worth exploring these options if you feel like your child isn't a typical child and may benefit from going to university a year early, or maybe taking a bit of time off and going into the real world instead and coming back when they're a bit older. The moral of the story is university entrance is complex, just like NCEA, but if you keep on track of it and you understand how it works roughly, then you're much more likely to have your children succeed. I hear a couple of stories every year, anecdotally, of people who have missed out on university entrance because their kids have sort of said to their parents, oh, they're fine, and the school said they're fine, but actually at the last minute they fail a standard, or they're not quite entered into the right mix, and therefore they don't quite get university entrance. So it's really important to be educated on these things, understand how it works, and keep on top of things. Cool, so that's us for now. Hopefully you've found this video useful and got some good tips and advice out there for university entrance. If you have any further questions, just feel free to comment below. I've been loving the questions I've been getting on my other videos. Also, if you have any comments about future videos we can cover and other things you're stuck on, just feel free to comment below, and we'll take it into account when making future videos. All right, cheers guys.